What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon NFL DFS video where you're breaking down NFL Week 15. If you've never been to the channel before, you've never checked out FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, you are in for a treat because we give a ton of information away. We do have FTA Plus on the website if you want to see some more lineups, you want to see cheat sheet simulations and stuff like that. But we do 10,000 simulations before I do this video, and we are going to give you our top options in those first 10,000 simulations. So we do have a couple of new segments that I'm going to do in this video. I wanted to get this out earlier to you, but what we're going to do is we're going to check out the Vegas odds. We're going to look at the top 5 games that have the highest over-unders in there. We are going to go position by position. I'm going to give you 10, my top 10 rankings at each position. If you want to see all of them, that's in the article right here. We have everything ranked, all the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in this article here. Also at the bottom of the article, we have a handful of value plays at each position that we're not going to cover in this video either. This article, description of the video, along with our absolutely free Discord. So after that, we are going to look at our matchup tool. I'm going to show you the stats that you can look through. If you've been with us for showdowns, you guys have seen it and you know exactly what to expect. Along with that, we also have we try to have 2 giveaways in these videos. Here's how you can win. Like the video, be a subscriber to this YouTube channel, and you have to leave a comment. You do all 3 of those, and this video right here gets a minimum of 50 likes. You'll have a shot at a free week of FTA Plus. So that's a week of all sports. So current sports in season, in NFL, NBA, PGA, and MMA. If this video gets 100 likes, a chance at a free month, 150 likes, a free year, 200 or more likes on this video, a chance at a lifetime pass worth $500. Here's what I'm going to do. Instead of 200 likes, if we can get 175 likes on this video, I will give away 1 lifetime pass next week's video when we run the contest again. Make sure you get in there. Make sure you type that away. Second way to win in this video, somewhere in this video, there'll be a keyword or a key phrase. Be on the lookout for it and type it in and have a second shot at a free week of FTA Plus. So that being said, we're also going to give you some lineup choices. So we're going to run an optimizer. I'm going to give you optimizer settings. We're going to show you what the optimizer likes before we put in the rankings. And then we're going to tell you the lineups that it likes after we put in the rankings. So that being said, I wanted to cover the top 5 games with the highest over-unders right now before Vegas changed the odds. The top game overall, the Rams versus the Lions. You've got the Rams 6-point favorites with a 55 over-under. You got the Bengals at the Ravens. You got the Rams have a 29.68 implied team total. The Lions have a 26.55. Second game that's the highest over-under. We've got the Bengals at the Ravens. 51.5 over-under. Bengals are a 2.5 point underdog right now. Bengals have a 25.18 implied team total. You got the Ravens implied team total of 26.48 with the over-under of 51.5. The next game I want to look at, we've got the Pats at the Bills, or versus the Bills. So the Bills are at New England. We've got an over-under of 49.5. We've got the Patriots as a 1.5 point underdogs right now with a 24.37 implied team total. And then we got Josh Allen and the Bills, 1.5 point favorites, obviously, with an implied team total of 25.15. Next game, I believe, is Sunday Night Football. We've got over-under of 47.5. We got the Cowboys versus the Vikings. Cowboys are 5.5 point favorite right now with an implied team total of 25.77. And the Vikings are 5.5 point underdog with an implied team total at 22.9. And then the final game I wanted to look at, we got the New York Giants coming into this game off a bye, 2.5 point favorite, 47 over under with an implied team total of 24.22. And then the flip side of that, the Commanders without Jaden Daniels this week, without Zach Ertz, they are 2.5 point underdog with an over under of 22.92. So those are the top 5 games that have the highest over-unders. You can monitor that right now, see where it's at moving forward, and we can go from there. So let's see our matchup tool. Now with this matchup tool, this is how you read it. This is how you break it down a little bit. These are not filtered for anything right now. You can filter it however you want, but we've got Dallas defense. They are the worst. They rank 32nd out of 32, giving up an average of 25.4 fantasy points per game to the opposing quarterback. So on paper, J.J. McCarthy has the best matchup on paper, but we have to remember who J.J. McCarthy really is. So tournament-wise, I'm okay with that. So Dallas is 32 against the quarterback and 31 against the quarterback in the red zone. The Bengals are 31 against the quarterback and 32 in the red zone. But the Bengals are giving up an average of 22 fantasy points a game. So we're looking at Lamar Jackson in this one on paper. Going to the next one. Giants are the third worst because we're not doing Thursday Night Football. 29th out of 32, giving up an average of 21.6. We're looking at the Commanders. Marcus Mariota. You can put in Terry McLaurin. You can put in Debo. Depends on where you want to go in that situation. But on paper, Marcus Mariota being a cheaper option against the Giants defense might be pretty good. Number 4, we've got the Steelers versus the Dolphins. Steelers ranked 27th on DraftKings and 27th on FanDuel, giving up an average of 21.1 fantasy points a game. So we're looking at the Dolphins. We're looking at Tua. Maybe put Tua along with Jalen Waddle in that situation. And then the 5th one that we'll look at, Commanders. Their defense has struggled this year. They're ranked 28th out of 32 against the opposing quarterbacks, going up against Jackson Dart and the Giants. So then running back situation, Bengals, Giants, Jets, Cowboys, and Cardinals are the bottom 5 teams. So we're looking at running backs, Ravens running backs, so Derrick Henry. We're looking at Commanders. Chris Rodriguez is injured. Ja'Cory is there. So, it could be split backfield. So that's definitely something to look at. Jaguars, probably looking more at Travis Etienne. Vikings, Aaron Jones, if he is good to go. We are waiting on that. And then the Texans here, number 5, going up against Arizona. Woody Marks was injured. He did come back. Dare Agumbawale vultured a touchdown, I believe, last week. So there are different ways to go about that. So that is definitely one to look. Look at the wide receivers. Dallas Cowboys are dead last against the wide receiver, 32 out of 32, giving up an average of 41.3. So in theory, wide receivers in this rank for week 15, Vikings wide receivers, Justin Jefferson has looked not like himself. We'll see. Rams, Devontae, Puka. Dolphins, Waddle is what you're looking at. Seahawks, JSN is what you're looking at. Commanders, Debo, Terry McLaurin. Those are ones you're looking at as well. So those are your 5 teams with wide receivers. And finally, tight ends. Bengals are dead last. So we're looking at Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews probably very under-owned in this game. Plus matchup there. We've got the Jets defense. So depending if Taylor is back, he is questionable, but he should play. Number 3, the Seahawks. So we're looking at the Colts for tight end. Number 4, the Steelers. And number 5, the Giants. Theo Johnson is injured right now, but I feel like he plays it. Daniel Bellinger is in there. So that's our matchup tool. If you want to see it, you can always go to fantasyteamadvice.com, NFL tab, go to the matchup tool there, and go from there. So that being said, we are going to go in order that I like. So these are our top 10s at each position, starting with the quarterback. My number 1 quarterback this week, you can tell by the picture in the video and the article, Matt Stafford. I did forget to mention, we're going to do the rankings. We're then going to do our top 6 stacks for the week. We're going to bring in a new segment called an injury report. So we're going to look at all the players at each position that are injured that impact our fantasy lineups as well. So it's a longer video. I will cut this up into shorts for you, so you can check out short form as well. But yeah, if you want to help out the channel, if you can't sign up for FTA Plus and you want to just support the channel, subscribing, leaving a comment or 2, clicking on the ads, and watching the video in its entirety through the course of the weekend multiple times, that all helps us out as well. So number 1, QB, Matt Stafford. Number 2, I've got Josh Allen. Number 3, I've got Drake May. 4, I've got Joe Burrow. 5, I've got Lamar. 6, Jalen Hurts. 7, Dak Prescott. 8, Jackson Dart. 9, Patrick Mahomes. And 10 is Brock Purdy. So remember, these can update throughout the weekend. These are the first 10,000 sims. Sunday mornings is when I run the final 20,000 or the final 10,000 simulations to make a total of 20,000 simulations and build from there. So this is your first look at week 15. All the information that we're going to be using. Come back, go check out the cheat sheet, check out the free Discord throughout the entire week and ask your questions in there because we're able to help each other out as well. If you have sports betting questions too, jump in there as well. If you want to see some core plays, I got you covered there too. So, running backs. Christian McCaffrey is my number 1. Number 2, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs. Not the best matchup against the Rams, but it is Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 3 is Achane. Number 4 is Derrick Henry. 5, I've got James Cook. 6, Travis Etienne Jr., 7, Saquon, 8, Chase Brown, 9, Josh Jacobs, who is questionable, but he should play. And then finally, 10 is Jonathan Taylor in the Seattle Seahawks defense. So again, if you want to see all of them that I'm talking about, it's in this article right here. Click the link down below. So let's move to the wide receivers. Should not come as a surprise. We've got Jason at the top, number 1, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Number 2 is Puka. Number 3 is Jamar. Number 4 is Rashee Rice. Number 5 is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 6 is Devontae Adams, which I fully expect him to play. 7 is Nico Collins. 8, George Pickens. 9, A.J. Brown. And 10 is Jalen Waddle. Now, it appears that CD does have a concussion. He's got a clear protocol. If CD is out, George Pickens is a fantastic pick here at 7,300. So, that being said, those are our top 10 wide receivers. If we're moving to tight ends, exactly what we're going to do now. We got number 1 is Trey McBride. Number 2 is George Kittle. 3 is Brock Bowers. 4 is Harold Fannin. 5 is Travis Kelce. 6 is Tyler Warren. 7 is Brenton Strange. 8 is Jake Ferguson, who's questionable. 9, Dalton Kincaid. And 10 is Mark Andrews. So while the matchup tool has Mark Andrews as the number 1 against that defense, we have him at number 10. So there are some discrepancies through simulations. So the matchup tools not always, don't just copy paste and build lineups off of that. But those are stats through the first 14 weeks. So it's a ton of stats to go over as well. It just depends on the pricing, whether or not you're on FanDuel or DraftKings, or how you go about that. Okay. And then finally, we're looking at defenses. Now, usually you can punt a defense. It just depends on where you're at with your defense if you need to make it work. But number 1 right now, I've got the Seahawks going up against whoever is going to be the quarterback for Indy right now. So Phillip Rivers supposedly is going to be a backup, but I just don't see him signing at 44 to be a backup. So very hard to tell which quarterback's going to go in for Indy. Number 2 are the Eagles, 3 Texans, 4 Jaguars, 5 49ers, 6 Bears, 7 Steelers, 8 Broncos, 9 Panthers, and finally 10, the Green Bay Packers. So those are our top 10s at each position through the first 10,000 sim. The keyword of the day is going to be ice, because I'm supposed to get an ice storm today. I'm supposed to get an ice storm a couple of times over the weekend. I am not thrilled about it whatsoever. So that is the key word. We are now going to see who the winner or winners are from last week's video. Now we had 11 comments and only 25 likes, so it's only for the keyword from last week. So if you see yourself the winner, the keyword was beer. There you go, Scooter8174. Come back every week, leave a comment. Beer was the keyword. It was either beer or your type of beer. So very excited for you. Congratulations, you've won in the past. Please email me, dfshelp1@gmail.com, with the subject line saying you are the NFL Week 14 keyword winner. And then let me know your username on fantasyteamadvisors.com. It's that simple. It's that easy. So that being said, if I'm looking at lineup optimizers here, and I am building through, there's a couple things that I do. I go to all the positions. I immediately take it down from 100% max exposure down to 30%. I want the algorithm to work for it. On top of that, I drill down a little bit further. I go to the quarterbacks. I go 15%. I want them involved. Okay. I rarely ever take a naked quarterback without throwing him out there with a wide receiver or a running back or a tight end. So what I do is, if your optimizer that you use has settings to stack, I usually do 25% QB plus 2. I do 25% QB plus 2, meaning QB plus 2 of his receivers or running back, tight end. I then bring back 2 most likely wide receivers, or if it's a stud running back on the flip side, because if it's going to be a very competitive game, you're going to want to get sides from both of that. And that's how you're probably going to take a tournament. So I do that. 25% usually is QB plus 3. And then 25% is just QB plus 3 plus 3. Because if you want to expand a little bit further on the high over-under games, you want exposure to that game 100%. Don't overthink it. So that being said, we're going to do our top 6 stacks of week 15 right now. We're going to use the Vegas odds right now. Then you can monitor that and see the situation afterward. So my number 1 stack this week is Matt Stafford and Puka and Devontae Adams. So looking at Matt Stafford, Rams are 6-point favorite right now. They have the highest over-under or team total of 29.68 with the highest over-under of the week of 55 points. Stafford has the 26 DVP on DraftKings against the position, and he's given up an average of 20.9 DraftKings fantasy points a game, or the Detroit defenses. And on FanDuel, they're giving up 20.7. So then I'm going to put him with Puka and Devontae Adams, both wide receivers, both going up against the 31st out of 32 defense. On DraftKings, Detroit's secondary is giving up an average of 39.6 DraftKings points and 33.5 FanDuel points. So whether or not you play on DraftKings, FanDuel, we've got you covered with that one. My number 2 stack this week, Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers versus Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. San Francisco, it could get ugly. They're a 12.5-point favorite right now. San Francisco has an over-under of, or an implied team total of 27.9 with an over-under of 44.5. Brock Purdy versus Tennessee against the quarterback. They rank 24th, giving up an average of 19.7 DraftKings fantasy points and 19.6 fantasy points on FanDuel. I want to pair him with CMC, 22nd DVP against the run, 24.4 DraftKings fantasy points, 22.5 FanDuel fantasy points. And then I want to put him with George Kittle a little. George Kittle versus the 19th DVP against the tight end, 13.5 DraftKings fantasy points, 10.8 FanDuel fantasy points. So the pricing discrepancy and the point discrepancy, like I said, DraftKings is a PPR format where FanDuel is not. Number 3 for Week 15, Seattle versus Indy. Got Sam Darnold. Seattle, 13.5-point favorite, we need to take advantage of him without turnovers before the game gets too out of hand and they just start running and bring up backup. So that is a problem here, but I do like that. Seattle, 13.5-point spread right now. 27.42 implied team total with an over-under of 42.5. So we got Sam Darnold versus the 17th DVP against the position, 17.6 DraftKings fantasy points, and 17.4 on FanDuel. JSN, or Jackson Smith and Jigba, has the 29th DVP out of 32 against the opposing wide receiver. The secondary giving up 37.6 DraftKings fantasy points and 30.8 FanDuel fantasy points. And then it depends if you want to go with Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet is in there. You want to go AJ Barner as a cheaper option. But for instance, Kenneth Walker in this matchup here, 11th DVP. Indy's given up 21.3 DraftKings fantasy points to the opposing running backs this year and 18.9 fantasy points on FanDuel. My number 4 stack. In the flip side of the first stack, we've got Detroit versus the Rams. Detroit 6-point underdogs right now. 26.55 implied team total, but we do want that juicy 55 over-under. So this is kind of where I say you go Rams number 1 with a bring back of like 2 to 3 players from Detroit. These are the ones that I am looking at too. Jared Goff going up against the 11th DVP against the quarterback. The Rams give up 16.4 DraftKings points per game, 16.2 to quarterbacks on FanDuel. I would put him, I think a lot of people are going to be Amon-Ra. If you want to save a little bit of money, look at Jameson Williams, 20th DVP there. So you go under-owned a little bit. The Rams give up an average of 33.6 DraftKings fantasy points and 27.4 FanDuel fantasy points. And then finally, Jahmyr Gibbs versus the 4th DVP. I don't care about this matchup. He is almost matchup proof. I love him in this situation. Or maybe you sub him out and go David Montgomery. Would be the same thing. Or go Amon-Ra and have both of the wide receivers. But Jahmyr Gibbs is going up against the Rams' 4th defense against the opposing running back, giving up an average of 17.9 DraftKings fantasy points and an average of 15.4 on FanDuel. My number 5 stack, Baltimore versus Cincy. Baltimore's only a 2.5-point favorite. Hopefully this game is close. Hopefully we're able to see it. I say that because they play them all the time. I feel like they just played them not too long ago, 2 games ago. Lamar did not come through in that game. 9.5. Ended up losing that game 32-14. That was without Joe Burrow. I think he bounces back, has a better game than what we saw there. We're going to kind of see what we saw last year with 43 to 42, huge scoring games. So we've got Baltimore, only a 2.5-point favorite right now. Implied team total of 26.48 with an over-under of 51.5. Lamar Jackson, the Cincy defense against the quarterback, they rank 31 out of 32, giving up an average of 22 DraftKings fantasy points at 21.7 on FanDuel. We got Zay Flowers, 3rd DVP, so not the best matchup for him, but he is on a tear. If you saw what Zay Flowers did last week, wasn't it Yeah, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 124 yards, and he rushes as well. The crazy thing is he only has 1 touchdown. I definitely see him scoring 1 this week. Third DVP, since he's given up 26.8 on DraftKings and 22 fantasy points on FanDuel. And then I look at Derrick Henry in this one. Looking at Derrick Henry, dead last, 32nd DVP against the run. They give up an average of 32.1 DraftKings fantasy points and 29.5 fantasy points on FanDuel. I love Derrick Henry here. You're going to be paying up McCaffrey, Chan, Gibbs, Taylor, Cook, and you could get Derrick Henry at 7,300. He has not looked like his overall self. Only has 10 tutties this year, but has 1,025 yards. He needs 975 more yards in the next few weeks to be in an Adam Sandler movie. He needed 2,000 yards. I don't think he gets it, but if he does, we're going to see a historic pace in this one. Then finally, this is more of a bonus stack because of how bad the defense is, but you got to remember it's J.J. McCarthy. I've got J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings versus Dallas Cowboys secondary. Minnesota, they are 5.5-point underdogs right now for Sunday Night Football. They got an implied team total of 22.9 with an over-under of 47.5. So it's a pretty good over-under there. J.J. McCarthy going up against the 32nd DVP against, so Dallas is dead last against the quarterback. Give up an average of 25.4 DraftKings fantasy points and 25.2 on FanDuel. Got Aaron Jones, who is questionable, but if he plays and he's good to go, 29th DVP there, giving up an average of 26.5 DraftKings fantasy points and 23.7 FanDuel. And then if he is back, who he was injured, but we're kind of paying attention here, Jordan Addison. I like Jordan here. If he plays, I think people are going to be on Justin Jefferson. I like Jefferson too. It's just everyone's going to be on him. You got to be a little bit different, but both in a great spot. Dallas is secondary, 32nd against the opposing wide receiver, giving up an average of 41.3 fantasy points on DraftKings and 35.1 fantasy points on FanDuel. So those are our top 6 stacks for week 15 as well. Very excited about it. Now, we are going to build a couple of your lineups here. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to get the optimizer running. I've got all the rankings in there, and we will see the lineups that it spits out. Pretty much the same with FanDuel and DraftKings. So we're just going to show you on DraftKings, but I wanted to show you kind of examples of what you can look at for optimizer, and it depends on the optimizer you have. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to make a couple lineups on DraftKings, a couple lineups on FanDuel, and then we're going to give a new segment. I'm going to do the injury report. So would love to know if you guys like every segment we put in here. If there are certain things you want to see in these weekly videos, got to let me know that as well. I want to make this video for you guys. I want this to be your one-stop DFS shop. So you come to us, you go to fantasyteamadvisor.com, and that is it. So that being said, I love me some Matt Stafford and the Rams as a stack. We've talked about that. I love that matchup there. Again, 10,000 sims, things can change, things can update. Love ETN, love Derrick Henry in this one. You're going to get him a little bit cheaper than probably what we should. We've got Nico Collins, who's the wide receiver 1 for the Texans against Arizona, beat up Arizona. It is more, I mean, to build this out, like Isaiah Hodgkins, you got to get him in there. Cheaper option. Devontae Adams is one that I'm going to stack with. Again, you can go Puka if you want. For this instance, we're going to go on that one. Got Britton Strange here. Love the matchup against the Jets here for him. Harold Fannin is, again, one of my top 10 tight ends this week, so I love that matchup there. And then we're at 3,700, so you can go Seahawks are down. I think I got to take Seahawks against Indy with that QB mess that we're going to be looking at. So that's one lineup using Matt Stafford, using our rankings, using the number 1 ranked quarterback that I have for week 15. So looking at what the rankings are, my account's not locked. It does this. I refresh the page, and then it lets me. And there we go. No sense whatsoever. What do we do? Okay, so looking at this, obviously think Matt Stafford's in a great spot. I've got him number 1. If you want to look at number 2, that's Josh Allen. It depends on who you can stack with him, I think, but Josh Allen is one where you can kind of put him out there by himself because he can score a couple of touchdowns on his own. So we're not going to build around there. We don't know if Kincaid's going to be in there. We don't know if Shakir, Coleman, whoever is going to be in there. We don't know. But on the flip side of that, I want some Drake May. Okay, I think it's going to be a shootout, just like Everybody else thinks it's going to be a shootout, and I want to take advantage of that. So Drake May would be my quarterback that I am a little bit sneaky on. I want to put May in there. Boutte in there. Okay. Defense-wise, I mean, you can spread however you want. Probably going to do... And again, you can go down. You could go like Steelers defense against Tua, who can turn the ball over. They're 3,100. They're averaging 7.9. Broncos defense against Jordan Love, maybe not so much. Texans, 9.7. I like the Texans. So I'm going to put it in there. Then we're going to go running backs. So situational, if you wanted to use a matchup tool to go running backs, you could. So Derrick Henry, Commanders, Jaguars, Vikings. Just depends. So I think I'm going to put in Derrick Henry. I think it's very hard for me to get away from some of these players each and every week. Woody Marks should be in there, should be back from injury. 15.6 last week. Newswise, knee, participated in practice. I'm going to put Woody Marks in there. So then Drake May, Tabuti. What? I think I kind of like Hunter Henry as well. So what are the Bills doing? Actually, the Bills are really good against the tight end, aren't they? Yeah, they're number one against the tight end. So maybe that's, again, use some of your information there. You put Drake May in there. You put Boutte in there. You could go Diggs. Okay, so a full stack there with 3. Then we got 5,200 to go wide receiver, tight end, and flex. So another wide receiver, if you wanted to look at this on paper, Vikings, Rams, Dolphins, Seahawks. Vikings, Rams, Dolphins, Seahawks. So again, I think I got to get Nakua in there. We're at 3,500 for a tight end. That's where it gets a little crazy. You'll go Colby Parkinson. He's been pretty good with Matt Stafford. Now we're at 3,900 for a flex. It could be interesting. You might not find a ton. Again, these are tournament lineups through 10,000 sims. You got to get down here. Mark Andrews is actually in a great spot. Number 1 tight end on the matchup tool. I don't mind that lineup. We built it right in front of you. If you want to see more lineups, go check out the website. So we'll do a couple here on FanDuel as well. Got to go Stafford. I got to put Stafford with Adams. I got to put Puka in there. Okay. Defense-wise, depends if you want to pay down, if you want to go. A crazy one that I've been looking at, and I've been running simulations, the Panthers versus New Orleans. 3,600. They're a cheaper option. You save 1,400 than going with Seahawks. So I'm okay with that. You got running backs, Gibbs. I like McCaffrey down here, and Derrick Henry. Okay. Tight end wise, what's Andrews on here? Mark Andrews at 5,300. I'm okay with that. What about Colby Parkinson with? He's at 5,100 and can't average that. Okay. So now we have 2 spots left, 3,900 for a wide receiver, 3,900 for a flex. So if we look at 3,900 range for what we're trying to build around, give or take, I should say. Come down here. I don't think we can. The lowest is 4K, isn't it? Okay. So we're not able to do that there. So let's take out Devontae Adams. Let's go 5,300 the rest of the way. If you wanted to look at another tight end or defense-wise, you could look at Vikings, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. So if you were to add Jordan Addison, his Achilles, let's see. Good to go, news-wise? Yeah, so it is his Achilles, obviously. He's got a great matchup, so it might be hard to look at him right now. So we'll go away from him. We could look at Waddle at 6,900 and then 4,500 the rest of the way for a wide receiver and a tight end. So if we were to go in that direction to build around, again, it depends how far down you want to go, if any of these even tickle your fancy there. Adam Thielen, we were told he will be looked at and used a little bit more. Yeah. So looking at this, he played Baltimore last week, had 1 target, wasn't really in there. Could always jump up there, 4,300. Now we're at 4,700. If you wanted to go a different direction, again, these are tournament lineups. Don't forget that. It just depends. Mason Tipton against Carolina, 4,600, hasn't done anything. We've got Carolina as the defense, so we can't really go in that direction. If you don't think you can pay up for both Henry and McCaffrey, I think I go away from McCaffrey. I think I bring it in here. We're at 6,800. A lot of directions we can go in this way. So Chase Brown I like in that matchup. Badal I don't mind against Kansas City. RJ Harvey's okay. Woody Marks is interesting to me. Jaylen Warren against Miami. Ashton Genty has let us down more this year. But Aaron Jones, shoulder, if he plays, I love this matchup there. So now we are at 7,500 for a flex, which opens up a world of possibilities here. Olavi, ETN, Brock Bowers, Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers. I think I like Zay in this one. I like the matchup there. I like this to be a shootout. Got Matt Stafford all the way down to the Panthers. And then I have to build one more lineup out here. So we'll go to the NFL. We will put this one here. And now if we look at this and we have an idea of which direction do we want to go? So we did the Rams. Do we want to look at a higher scoring one? So the Rams are number 1 for us. I think Baltimore against Cincy's number 2. Whether or not you stack Lamar with somebody, I get that. We're going to build this lineup here, and we are going to go in that direction. So that being said, I've got Lamar here. I've got McCaffrey. I want to pay for McCaffrey. I've got Dowdle. Okay. Got Jameson Williams. You could definitely look at this, or if you want to go Amon-Ra, but you're going to be spending some money. Wan'Dale Robinson against Washington secondary. I do like that. I like Zay Flowers to be connected with Lamar in this lineup. I like Kittle as one of our top tight ends. Woody Marks is questionable, but I think he plays in this game. Should. Now we got 3,400 for a defense. Not going to go Colts against Seattle. Not going to go Minnesota against Dallas. Not going to go Baltimore against Joe. Detroit, that's where it gets crazy. That's where you kind of got to punt a little bit too. So if we look at that direction, Colts, no. Vikings, interesting, but probably not. Ravens against Cincy, probably not. Lions, no. Giants against Marcus Mariota, I'm okay with it. Again, it's a throwaway. Pay down at that position and build off of that. So those are just some of the lineups, just sample lineups. If you want to see even more lineups, we have them on the website. Hit us up in our Discord. There are 3 ways to get free content. There's FanDuel, DraftKings, and Fanatics sportsbooks in the description of this video and the article. If there's 1, 2, or 3 you've never signed up for, sign up using our links. Deposit $20, enter a bet. After you've entered your first bet, email me proof that you signed up. We'll give you a free month of FTA Plus for every single website that you guys have signed up for. We also have 3 spots left for that lifetime pass, normally $500. If you email me right now, dfshelp1@gmail.com, you can get it for $150. That's the deal we've got going on right now. And yeah, that being said, we've covered a lot. We're now going to look at our injury report right now. So again, depends on how you want to read this. If this is something you guys like, let me know. Let me enter this and make it bigger. So looking at the quarterbacks, Herbert is questionable but probable, should play. Jaden Daniels is out. Trevor Lawrence, ankle, questionable but probable. Tyrod Taylor, Geno, and Justin Fields did not practice this week and are doubtful for the games. Looking at running backs, Achane, ribs, questionable but probable. Fully expect him to play. Josh Jacobs is a questionable and game time decision right now. Kamara, knee, ankle, did not practice, probably out. Wouldn't use him anyway. Devin Neal doesn't really say what his injury is, but he is the backup to Kamara. He is questionable and a game time decision. Aaron Jones has a shoulder, but questionable but probable. Chris Rodriguez, questionable but probable. Didn't say what his injury was at the time. Nick Chubb, ribs, questionable game time decision. Wouldn't use him. DeMarcado, ankle, questionable game time decision. Probably don't use him either. Looking at the wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, concussion, questionable and game time decision. If he cannot pass concussion, he is out. George Pickens skyrockets up there. T. Higgins, concussion, questionable and game time decision. Definitely something to look at. If he is out, Jamar Chase is already that dude. If Higgins is out, Yosevich is a cheap, interesting option for me. Ladd McConkey has a foot injury. He's questionable but probable. Rome Odunze, stress fracture in his foot. Did not practice last week. Did not play. Has got limited practice in there. He is questionable, but a game time decision. Still, though, if you pay up for him and he re-injures that stress fracture, he's out, and you've got screwed immediately. DK Metcalf's stomach, questionable, but sounds like he will play. Marvin Harrison Jr. has a heel problem. did not practice so far this week, is doubtful. Jordan Addison doesn't say what his actual injury is. Questionable and game time decision. I fully expect him to play, but it's definitely something to look at. If he is out, then Justin Jefferson is skyrocketed up there. And then Parker Washington, hip, has not practiced, is doubtful. And then we move to tight ends. Jake Ferguson, calf, questionable but probable. Theo Johnson, Mason Tyler, David Njoku, and TJ Hawkinson are all questionable with a game time decision. And then Michael Mayer, ankle, questionable but probable, along with Brock Bowers in that backfield. So that being said, that's your injury report. That's your week 15 broken down. If you want to see value plays at each position, the article is down below. Let's have a fantastic week 15. Good luck. And as always, bring home some bacon.